Radio and ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. You know what? The hell with Kevin Durant. The hell with Kawhi Leonard. The hell with Kyrie Irving. The hell with everybody. I mean, what about Klay Thompson? Now, obviously, I'm only playing around when I say the hell with those guys because we're talking about very elite players who are superstars that any team would be lucky to have, particularly a team like the New York Knicks, because that's where my interest lies, and that's where I'm opening today's show. I'll get into the Rams being in the Super Bowl. I'll get into this being the anniversary of Kobe's 81-point explosion on the Toronto Raptors and my man Jalen Rose. I'll get into all of that a little bit later on as the show progresses. I got a lot of stuff to get into today. Trust you me. But did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see what transpired last night as Klay Thompson for the Golden State Warriors, the reigning two-time defending NBA champions, put on a shooting clinic, a shooting exhibition, reminded everybody that he is one of the top 5 shooters in the history of basketball. That's right, I said it. And for all you young whippersnappers that wouldn't know anything about a Jerry West to a downtown Freddie Brown to a Ricky Pierce to a Dale Ellis, you could throw Allen Houston into the equation. You can throw Ray Allen and Reggie Miller into the equation. You can throw Jeff Hornacek into the equation. You can throw the great Steve Kerr with his shooting self into the equation. John Paxson, add him in the mix too. Craig Hodges, blackballed from the NBA for reasons we will not get into. But what a great shooter he was for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in the early heyday years of Phil Jackson coaching them to championships. You can pick any shooter you want. But without question, Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in the history of basketball. Period. End of discussion. There is nobody that is better than Steph Curry. But I bring up his name ahead of Klay Thompson for one reason and one reason only. If we took away the shot off the dribble and we simply talked about rolling off the screens of picks, or set up shots, you could actually make the argument that Klay Thompson is a better shooter than Steph Curry. Now, all around total, in terms of shooting from the left, shooting from the right, shooting from the top of the key, shooting from either wing, shooting off the dribble, shooting standing still, shooting on the run, it does not matter. Steph Curry's the greatest shooter we have ever seen in the history of basketball without question. But if you simply talk about spot-up shooting or curling off picks and screens and pulling up, I challenge anybody to definitively tell me that there's a better shooter on the planet than Klay Thompson, definitively. Because only one other person comes to mind, and that would be Steph Curry. I throw Ray Allen and Reggie Miller into the equation in terms of set shots. I do that. But Klay Thompson's right there. Top 5 shooter all time. Take into account the fact that he's 6'7". Take into account the fact that he can defend multiple positions. Take into account the fact that even in this day and age, as a third wheel, he still does what he does. And doesn't it make you ashamed of yourself that you were acting up a few weeks ago when Klay Thompson was in his slump? I said it then, I say it now. I have never been worried about Klay Thompson. Ever. About his shot. I don't give a damn about some slump. Him on an off day is a better shooter than most folks on their on days. He's that great. He's that great. This is Klay Thompson, baby. And if I'm the Los Angeles Lakers, let me be the first to say that while I have to look at Kawhi Leonard because he's too great overall. I have to look at Kevin Durant because he's too great of an all-around talent overall. I got news for you. I think a legitimate argument could be made that whether it's the Knicks or the Lakers, that the person who should be targeted first is Klay Thompson. I don't know if the other dudes are obtainable. I personally believe that Kawhi Leonard is going to the Clippers, and I'm scared to death if he ends up going to Brooklyn, because then that means the Knicks are toast. I can't see them getting a Klay Thompson because guess what? If you're in Northern California winning championships with Steph Curry as your sidekick, why the hell would you go to the Knicks? Particularly when you're a talent that needs help because you're not somebody that's a number one option. But if I'm Klay Thompson and LeBron James is in L.A., and I'm Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, and I have an opportunity to compromise the Golden State Warriors by taking away Klay Thompson and getting him on a Lakers franchise where his daddy once donned that uniform, I'm going to go for that. And I got something else to tell all of y'all. I've said it on several occasions, and I'll say it again. There is nothing that I find to be more blasphemous than a lack of praise and love and adulation we have been willing to accord to Klay Thompson when you consider the fact that us right here at ESPN, his daddy works here. Does an outstanding job as a radio host, 710 ESPN LA. Right here in LA, right there in LA. You got Michael Thompson, who, by the way, helped the Lakers win championships. That's his son. He ain't some damn distant relative, some second or third cousin from your stepbrother or somebody. I'm making fun because that's what Jamie Foxx, known as Cleveland A. Smith, calls me. You my twin on my stepfather's side. Hilarious. That's where that came from. But in all seriousness, you Michael Thompson, you work for ESPN. How is this man's son not far more recognized? I don't say it enough. I mean, I literally have in my mind Klay Thompson wondering whether or not, is he a better shooter than Ray Allen? Is he a better shooter than Reggie Miller? He might be number 2 all time behind Steph Curry. I know Kyle Korver's a great shooter. I know Steve Kerr was great. I know John Paxson was great. But they needed a little bit more help than Klay Thompson. Ray Allen is the smooth stroke out of UConn. And then in Milwaukee and Seattle. I mean, all of these places. Ray Allen was special. Reggie Miller, nothing but love for my brother. But Klay Thompson might be the second greatest shooter in NBA history. It needs to be a discussion. Can we definitively omit that possibility? I don't think we can. And when you have that kind of shooter, and you're in Los Angeles where everybody's clamoring for LeBron James to get help and alluding to Klay Thompson being one of those guys, for him to put on that kind of show where he ended up hitting 17 of his 20 shots from the field, 10 straight three-pointers, finishing with 44 points in a rout. I mean, this was a 10-point game at halftime. And before I had an opportunity to pass gas, the Lakers were down by 30. Poor LeBron James sitting on a bench with some no-name I don't even recognize trying to talk to him. Not recognizing that the star who can't play yet ain't interested in talking to you when the team is down by 30. With Klay Thompson pulling up from 30. Might want to talk to you. You can't make this up. And I'll tell you something else, and I'm going to go a step further. Y'all can say what y'all want. Y'all can call me all types of crazy. This is one of the other reasons why If you're the Lakers, you need to trade Brandon Ingram for some equitable assets and then add Carmelo Anthony to the roster on a minimum wage salary. Y'all are just dismissing Carmelo Anthony. I'm not doing that. He has lost a step. He is not what he used to be. He's not the career 24-point-per-game scorer. I get all of that. I understand it. But you can't tell me that with Carmelo Anthony on the same court as LeBron James, getting him open shots, that Carmelo Anthony can't average 15 a night for you on about 44% shooting. I know he shot 40% over the last 2 years. I know he was shooting at 30% a clip from three-point range. I know it hasn't been quite impressive. I know he's lost a step. But I think you have to consider the systems that he was in and the fact that he's not what he used to be. If anybody can make up for that, it's LeBron James. How many times have we seen LeBron James make people look greater? What are the Cleveland Cavaliers now without LeBron James? Last year they were in the finals. How did Tristan Thompson and the rest of the crew look with LeBron James? How do they look without him? I think these are things you have to pay attention to. And I don't think it can be summarily dismissed. And I don't think for 1 second that you can dismiss what LeBron James could do and, more importantly, would want to do for Carmelo Anthony. LeBron James went to the Lakers to speak up on Melo's behalf because he knows that Melo got screwed over by the Houston Rockets. This is not casting aspersions on Daryl Morey or Mike D'Antoni or anything like that. I have profound respect for those guys, especially Daryl Morey. I'm simply saying when I say the word screwed over, as incendiary as that may sound, here's all I mean by that. D'Antoni never really wanted Melo. Melo never really had a chance in Houston. He's boys with Chris Paul. He and Chris Paul are actually tighter than both of them are with D-Wade and LeBron. Because D-Wade and LeBron is their own clique. Melo and CP3 are their own clique, even though the four of them are all friends. And in Chris Paul's case, he's godfather to LeBron's children. I mean, these are brothers. So I'm not trying to dismiss that. I'm simply saying that as tight as D-Wade and LeBron are, CP3 and Melo are. Did the Houston Rockets consult with consult with CP3 before letting Melo go? No, they didn't care. Which to me speaks to Chris Paul needing to get healthy and going out there and performing so he can have the cachet his greatness warrants. But your greatness don't mean a damn thing if you're not available to display it. And that's his problem. In the case of Melo, let's face reality. Let's look at it for what it is. Melo is a guy, two things you could criticize Melo for. The money appeared more important than winning at times because clearly he went after the money. Denver first, then New York, then after. He should have been a member of the Big Three. It was never supposed to be Bosh. I've told y'all this many times. It was never supposed to be Bosh. It was supposed to be D-Wade, LeBron, and Melo. But Melo took the 5-year guaranteed dollars from Denver, whereas Chris Bosh with D-Wade and LeBron all signed deals in 2007 that gave them an out 2010. Melo didn't do that because he wanted the guaranteed dollars. So he made the mistake chasing the money. But also, I think when we look at LeBron and the physical freak of nature that he is, Melo at 6'8", 240, while he wasn't fat and sloppy, bottom line is he could have taken care of himself physically better. Because I'm not seeing an eradication in the game of Melo. I'm seeing Melo not be in the same physical specimen that he once was because he didn't take better care of his body. That combining with the transition that we've been witnessing with the game and his willingness to hold the basketball and go one-on-one ISO, I think has compromised his success. And I think Melo is at a stage of point right now where two places are ideal for him. Philadelphia, because Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid, and to a significantly lesser degree, J.J. Redick, needs another person that can shoot the perimeter shot for them because Ben Simmons ain't going to do that for you. That's the one thing he's not going to do for you. Ben Simmons is the second coming of LeBron in the making. He is special. I love Ben Simmons. but he doesn't shoot and can't shoot perimeter shots yet. So you need an additional shooter in Philadelphia. But I'm told Philadelphia, it wasn't really, at least weeks ago, they weren't interested in Melo. I don't know if that's changed. Even though I was at the game last night and didn't speak to them about that, I don't know if that's changed, but weeks ago they weren't interested in Melo. LA is a different ball game because LeBron, having told Melo he needs to be in shape and ready to go if and when called upon, still has to convince Magic and Pelinka to do it. It's not so much that LeBron, from what I'm told, desperately wants Melo in LA. It's that he believes Melo got screwed over in Houston and wants to salvage his reputation and beyond in LA, and is willing to help him do that so long as Melo's willing to put in the necessary work to make that happen. Any way you slice it, I'm here to tell y'all, don't come to me talking to me like Melo is some scrub. Melo is not a number one option. Melo cannot carry the load anymore because he didn't take as good of a care of himself physically as he should have. But Melo can still play. Melo can still ball. Melo can still score. A couple of games this year, of the 10 games that he played in Houston, I think he scored over 20 like 4 of those games. A couple of games he had over 25. I'm sorry. If you're a scrub, you can't do that. So if he were in L.A. with LeBron playing with him, LeBron's going to get him open shots. Don't tell me that Melo can't make some of them. I don't believe that. I believe that Melo can come to L.A., average 15 points a game, and contribute to the Los Angeles Lakers. And I actually think he's a better fit than Brandon Ingram, even though Brandon Ingram is no scrub. He's considerably younger, obviously with a stronger upside because of it. I just don't think L.A. is the ideal situation for Brandon Ingram. LeBron needs shooters. Josh Hart, Kuzma, Melo, people like that. That's what he needs. To pair with the Stevensons and Rondos and Tyson Chandlers. Zubac the center. Zubac can play. I like him. But you need another shooter. And I think Rob Pelinka and Magic should get him, Melo, and I think that would be Melo's very last chance. If it doesn't work out for Melo in L.A., Melo needs to retire. But I don't think he's there yet. I believe enough in Melo. What about you? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'm telling you right now, of course Durant and Kawhi Leonard are better, but I'm looking at Klay Thompson. Could you imagine Klay Thompson with LeBron? If I'm the Los Angeles Lakers, I'd go all out to get Klay Thompson. Why waste your energy on Kevin Durant, who talked about it being toxic to play with LeBron? Why waste your energy pursuing Kawhi Leonard when he don't want the glitz and the glamour? He either wants a whole country at his disposal being the number one option in Toronto, or he's willing to go to the Clippers. Why waste your time with Kawhi? If I'm the Los Angeles Lakers, I go after Kawhi. If I'm the New York Knicks, I'm wondering what the hell are my options. Because from everything I'm hearing, you ain't going to get KD, you ain't going to get Kawhi, you ain't going to get Klay. Kyrie Irving, you might have to, overpay and give him the super max, you give him the max. But from what I'm being told, he doesn't want to leave Boston. And oh, by the way, I'm looking at Brooklyn, who blew out Sacramento by 29 last night. They're 2 games over 500. LA, I got a very interesting question for y'all. How you feeling about D'Angelo Russell? Oh, him diming out Swaggy P with his stupid, immature nonsense, videotaping him without Swaggy P knowing, costing him his relationship with Iggy Azalea, by the way. We held a lot against D'Angelo Russell for that. I got news for you. Hell with all of that. D'Angelo Russell is playing well. D'Angelo Russell looks a hell of a lot better than Lonzo Ball. So the Los Angeles Lakers got rid of D'Angelo Russell. Not only is Lonzo Ball not living up to what you would expect from a number 2 overall pick, not only does it look like a mistake by the Lakers, who passed up on Jason Tatum and De'Aaron Fox and Markkanen and Dennis Smith Jr. and Donovan Mitchell to grab Lonzo Ball, but they also moved D'Angelo Russell away because they knew they were going to get Lonzo Ball. So that's another player you can add to the list. I got news for you. This ain't as simple as everybody's making it out to be. D'Angelo Russell and the Brooklyn Nets. Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to be a play in free agency. I got to look at – let me tell you something right now. I'm literally at this point with Sean Marks and what Kenny Atkinson is doing as the coach, with the talent and how hard they play and the way they look, playing the way that they play. I got to tell y'all something right now. The only issue I got with the Brooklyn Nets is the traffic on Atlantic Avenue. If the player can somehow manage to work their way through that, dealing with that nasty traffic in Brooklyn, I got news for you. The Brooklyn Nets are an incredibly attractive commodity. New York Knicks got a problem. They got a problem. Who's going to come? All this noise about Fizdale and these boys. I love David Fizdale. He needs more talent to work with. But we at a point right now where if you're the New York Knicks, the only thing right now that seems your best option, free agency ain't even your best option. You know what the Knicks' best option is right now? Losing practically every damn game on purpose the rest of the way so you can position yourself to give yourself the best shot at getting the number 1 overall pick, which is Zion Williamson. That's it. That's it. Outside of that, I don't know what to say about the Knicks. I really, really don't. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Remember, I'm going to get into Super Bowl 53. It's the New England Patriots against the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to get into that next. Keyshawn Johnson, former NFL standout, number 1 overall pick of the New York Jets, champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, outstanding NFL analyst for the family here at ESPN, especially doing a great job with the morning drive as a morning drive host in L.A., 710 ESPN L.A. He will be on the show with me at the top of hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. So stick around. Don't touch that dial. I got more coming your way. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes, do you? You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Learn what affects your credit scores and what you can do to improve them with Credit Karma. Maybe you need to dispute an error in your credit report, or you're paying too much interest. Credit Karma can help with that. Visit CreditKarma.com or download the app now. That's CreditKarma.com.
For some seats to any game, download the app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order today. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before I get to the phones, let me say this. Odds-on favorite to start off all of this, the Super Bowl 53 bonanza, is the New England Patriots. I mean, what I will say about the Los Angeles Rams is this. Here's what makes it interesting. Forget talent for a second, because they got the talent to match up with anybody. But if you got to go up against Tom Brady, think about what the New York Giants did, whether it was Strahan and the crew in 2007, whether it was JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, and O.C. Umenyiora and those boys in 2011. Think about what derails Tom Brady. You know what it usually is? A pass rush. So if I got Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh and Brockers and Fowler and those boys coming at me, it's an entirely different monster that I got to be concerned about. And I think that could be the thing that works in LA's favor. But if Tom Brady is given any time whatsoever to pass the football, they could be in a world of trouble. Aqib Talib did a tremendous, tremendous job against Michael Thomas, highlighting the fact that New Orleans' number 1 priority should be getting a number 2 receiver to play opposite Michael Thomas for next season. But when you talk about Julian Edelman, when you talk about Chris Hogan, when you talk about Rob Gronkowski and these boys, it would appear that they don't have but so many weapons. But we're talking about Sony Michel being incredibly valuable. We're talking about James White out of the backfield catching passes all day long from Brady as well. And when you have that reality, and the Rams defense being as suspect as they've been up until these playoffs anyway, you got to wonder what Bill Belichick is going to be able to pull out of his hat, which is why you have to give Bill Belichick and Tom Brady the edge. It's going to be real interesting to see. I know I'm interested in it. No question. I would have preferred to see the Saints and the Chiefs or the Rams and the Chiefs and New England not being it, but the greatness of Tom Brady derailed that. And he's talking a lot of smack, caught on video saying, we too old, we don't have enough talent, blah, 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 bleep everybody, all this. He's absolutely right. Get over it. Tom Brady, at this moment, has the last laugh on all of us. And he deserves it. Give him credit where it's due. If I were the New England Patriots, though, I wouldn't even bother having a pre-Super Bowl parade. You know, I have the crowd just wishes you luck before you step away. It ain't worked for them last year. I try something different this go around. That would be me. That would be me. But the Rams right now, according to FPI chants, on ESPN, the Rams have a 52-48 advantage in terms of the odds of beating New England for the Super Bowl 53 and counting in Atlanta. We shall see. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let's go to the phones, man. Let's go to Xavier. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen. Okay, I got a question, man. I just heard you say everything about the Rams defense and what all they could do to get to Tom Brady. But what do you think Belichick's plan is? Because in my opinion, I do feel like they'll put Talib on Grunt. Now, once you do that, don't you think they kind of open up the field for others? Because Brady done showed that Edelman, Chris Hogan, sometimes they can be valuable assets. And James White
I don't think they need to wait for Aqib Talib to be on Gronkowski to implement that game plan. The fact is, James White catching the ball out of the backfield, Sony Michel running the ball effectively. The offensive line combined with Rob Gronkowski helping them block to protect Tom Brady have not surrendered a sack this entire postseason. That's unbelievable. Tom Brady has dropped back to pass about 90 times. He has not been sacked one time. Now, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, you got to figure out a way to get to him. But remember what Joey Bosa was complaining about when the Los Angeles Chargers went against Brady. He was marveling at Brady and his greatness, but he was also highlighting the fact we can't get to him because the ball is always gone. Brady's getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds. What is he supposed to do? What is Aaron Donald supposed to do? What is Ndamukong Suh supposed to do? What is Brockers and Fowler and the crew supposed to do? If Tom Brady, right, I'm saying Aaron Rodgers, if Tom Brady gets rid of the ball in 2 seconds, what the hell are they supposed to do?
That is true, but okay, question. Do you not think that the run by Sony Michel will be kind of stuffed? Because I didn't think that the Saints would be able, I thought the Saints and Kamara would be able to run against the Rams, but they showed no look. And that being said, you don't think it'd be the same thing that happened, like they'd be able to shut down the run?
My man, your question is annoying me. And the reason why your question is annoying me, I just gave you every scenario. The bottom line is even if you key on Gronk, you're going to be able to run the football. Rob Gronkowski is helping you block. If he doesn't help you block, he's catching passes out of the, coming off the line of scrimmage. Then he's catching passes between the numbers. Oh, by the way, Hogan is snatching one-handed grabs. Oh, by the way, Julian Edelman has missed a third down. Oh, by the way, James White is serving as a de facto receiver. Oh, by the way, Sony Michel is running the football effectively. I am saying to you that the only ingredient that has consistently worked against New England was getting to Tom Brady. Even when Tom Brady had 505 yards passing last year, what was the decisive play of the game? When Brandon Graham caused the fumble because he sack fumbled Tom Brady. The Philadelphia Eagles recovered, and that basically won the game for the Eagles. That's what it took. At some point in time, you are Aaron Donald and the defensive line of the Los Angeles Rams. You have got to make a play against Tom Brady in order to have a shot to win this game. You're not going to engage in a shootout, and you're not going to completely, just stymie New England's offense. They're going to do something. This is not going to be a 20-17 encounter. More points are going to be put up. But somehow, some way, you're going to have to find a way to get to Tom Brady at some point in order to win this game. It's that simple. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Sean. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, I'm wondering if the Rams rushing with Todd Gurley, C.J. Anderson, 1-2 punch, do you think that they could be as successful as they were when they play the Cowboys, or do you think that the Patriots can contain the run like the Saints last week?
Well, it's going to be real interesting to see because what the Patriots here's what I think. I think the Patriots will key on the run, and they would like to – listen, we all know what Bill Belichick does. He takes your two primary weapons away from you. So if you are the Los Angeles Rams, with Cooper Kupp being gone, you're looking at Reynolds, you're looking at Woods, you're looking at Brandon Cooks, who was a member of the New England Patriots last year, by the way. So it's one of those situations where you're looking at them and you're asking, what are the two primary weapons for the Los Angeles Rams? One is unquestionably Todd Gurley, despite his only 10 yards rushing in the NFC Championship game. Unquestionably, that's your number one option. Jared Goff might be number two, but he's throwing the football. So what are you going to do? You're going to probably try to take away Woods or Cooks and dare Jared Goff to beat you some other way. Or what you might do is blitz him all day long and just apply pressure and see how he reacts to it. But what we've seen from Jared Goff is that he can run, he can throw the football. That spiral is pretty damn pretty. And oh, by the way, he's pretty damn good at reading defense as well, and so is Sean McVay. And so as a result of that, even though he's made some mistakes and he is relatively inconsistent, the reality is that if you are Bill Belichick, you might dare Jared Goff to beat you by taking everything away from Gurley and Anderson. We'll see what happens.
Hey, Stephen A., I mean, the Cowboys, would you consider it a successful year for them? I mean, I have a few friends that Cowboys fans. Shout out Danny Hurley.
Hold it! Don't you ever give a shout out to a Dallas Cowboy fan on my show. Do you understand?
I know. I mean, Cowboys.
I will give you a dial tone quicker than you can say your damn name. You ever try that again? No shout out to Cowboy fans.
So Stephen A., we're both Steelers fans out here, you know. But yeah.
Goodbye. You wasn't ready. You weren't ready. It's okay. You got your first point, of course, and that's what's most important. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. If you missed any of my opening segment, don't worry. You can go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Podcast. Brought to you by the new Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Hey! What's in your wallet? More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and ESPN News in a minute. Winter or summer, rain or shine, with the Peloton bike, it's always the perfect South Street Seaport. You know it's live, right? Especially once the weather gets warm. Also, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Jay. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Jay. Jay, are you there?
Jason, this is Jason, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Man, I got a couple of statements and one question for you. Actually, a request. My statements are, it's a travesty what happened to New Orleans Saints. I'm a 39-year-old male from Louisiana. I live in Maine now. I put on multiple barbecues every year, and I'm afraid that millions of other people, if not millions, close to a million other people are going to stop being invested in the stuff that happened Sunday. Do you know that I believe that it was set up? I mean, how can you have referees from Southern California calling a game?
All three of them. Yep.
All right. And I
heard at least three of them. I
heard that one of them used to play for the Rams.
I'm not sure about that, but it's possible.
I'm not sure about it either. I mean, you can't believe everything you read, but I read that one of them used to play for the Rams. But unequivocally, you cannot get over the fact that that's what happened in the game. It was taken from us, and millions of people. I know a bunch of older people that was on the hedge years ago, man. Years ago, that they thought it was rigged. They were on the fence, and I'm afraid that we're going to lose the most important sport in this world to us, and the most money-making sport. And you may as well be watching pro wrestling. And yes,
whoa. You're being dramatic. You're being dramatic. I understand. I think you got robbed. Saints should be in the Super Bowl because of that play. I get all of that. I understand it. But you really think the NFL is going someplace? I mean, just a few weeks ago, we learned 4.9% increase in revenue. Owners got a $226 million check. This whole Kaepernick and the kneeling thing wasn't heard in the sport as much as we were led to believe. They're making money. They're not going anywhere, man. They're not going anywhere. The NFL has successfully gone about the business of making its sport an event, a weekly event. It's damn near religion in the United States of America. I personally know pastors, not my pastor, Pastor A.R. Bernard at the Christian Cultural Center in New York City, who's like a father to me. Not his church, because he doesn't play that mess. But I know pastors that literally schedule their sermons around Sunday football. You can't make this up.
Great. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's why I wanted to contact you, because you have you're a surgeon with words. You are, you can put your own take on it, and you have the voice to reach the masses to protect the sanctity of fanship, man, the stuff that pays you guys.
Yeah, but the problem with it is that throughout history, there's been human error in every generation of every sport. Okay, I still lament the fact that Adam Silver in the NBA gave LeBron James that stimulus package by suspending Draymond Green for Game 5 of that NBA Finals that the Cleveland Cavaliers ultimately ended up winning, erasing a 52-year drought in any professional sport. But guess what had happened? Okay, baseball stuff happened. Strikes, don't get me started with them umpires and how the strike zone varies depending on which guy is behind home plate. Okay, the umpire. Football, same thing. We saw Serena Williams get herself in trouble because of the linesman or whoever it was, the official, and how he treated her. Everywhere you turn, there are questionable decisions that are made by officials. So even though it was egregious and it appeared to be flagrantly wrong and all of that other stuff on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 250-plus radio markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM dial plus Sirius XM channel 80 plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up is always 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. On the line with yours truly right now, co-host after a morning drive show, 710 ESPN LA, former number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft by the New York Jets, former champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under John Gruden, obviously a former Dallas Cowboy, also doing an outstanding job as a radio host and an analyst for the family here at ESPN. The one and only Keyshawn Johnson is on with yours truly. What's up, Big Tom? How are you, man?
What's happening?
How did you feel about, I mean, when you looked at these games Sunday, what was the biggest surprise to you? What was the biggest thing that jumped off your mind based on these conference championship games that took place this Sunday?
Well, I think it was the lack of running games, and particularly when you talk about the two teams in the NFC, the lack of running game with the New Orleans Saints, the lack of running game with the LA Rams, even though Todd Gurley seemed to be banged up. But C.J. Anderson, prior to that, had some phenomenal games running down the stretch. But you didn't see much, considering that the Rams gave up 5.1 yards per rush attempt throughout the season. And then New Orleans lost their big nose tackle in the middle, but that yet still it didn't negate anything from happening on the positive side for either one of those teams.
You know, Keyshawn, I look at, so much was made, so much noise had been made about that no call on the pass interference. Obviously, it could have decided the game, but did you harbor the same disgust that so many people out there harbored about that call being missed?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was ridiculous. That, to me, I know a lot of people want to dive into, well, if Sean Payton would have just ran the ball 4 or 5 times in a row and kicked the field goal, whatever the case is. It didn't happen that way. It clearly of how you view several players and a coach in this particular game, which would be Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas. I mean, this changes certain people's legacy. This can, if Drew Brees goes on, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. But if he goes on and he goes to the Super Bowl and he beats Kansas City or beats New England, he gets now 2 Super Bowls. Sean Payton is now a 2-time winning Super Bowl coach who now is Stephen A. will be talking about future Hall of Fame coach. Mm-hmm. Now, all of that changes everything. My nephew gets an opportunity to win his first Super Bowl title. All that changed.
Well, who's your nephew? Who's your nephew, Keyshawn? Who's your nephew?
Michael Thomas.
Okay, Michael Thomas. Man? Okay, well, listen, man, I forgot about that. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I forgot that was your nephew.
You got to stop working like that.
You're right. Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. What did you think of the job Akeem Talib did on him? He only had 4 receptions for like 36 yards.
Man, Talib didn't do anything on him to take him away. Now, I know people want to give Talib the credit because he came back and Mikey had a non-Mikey game. Okay. But it was more about just the overall defensive scheme that was put together by Wade Phillips, and they couldn't get the football to him. Drew Brees certainly wasn't going to force balls to him in those situations, so they continued to use Kamara down the stretch. They threw the ball to Kamara a lot, and when opportunities presented themselves for Mikey, then they tried to hit him, and they just couldn't connect. Connect on the touchdown. The touchdown that should have been in the end zone to him was underthrown by Drew Brees. Talib wasn't on him. The interception at the end of the game that was tipped in the air, Talib wasn't on him. But you know how that goes, Stephen A. They just, they say, oh, he didn't do nothing to that kid.
I got you. As you reflect on the game, how much better could Sean Payton have coached this game in your estimation? I'm thinking about, running the football as opposed to throwing it on first down, chewing up the clock, milking stuff down. He could have done things to assist himself in that regard. I think he could have found a way to out-scheme Wade Phillips and make Michael Thomas more of a focal point than he actually ended up being. I can point to those kind of things as well. What do you point to?
I think Sean had him prepared. I think Sean coached the best he could. I think Sean made some typical Sean mistakes in the game, at times getting cute late in the game before the pass interference, or there would have been pass interference or helmet to helmet or whatever flag you wanted to throw on there. He tried to throw a quick slant, a one-step slant to Mikey. Yep. Drew Brees bounced it in the turf, stopped the clock, gave the Rams probably another 35, 40 seconds on the clock. That was a mistake, in my opinion, not being prepared on special teams when Westhoff is one of the best special teams coaches to ever grace the sidelines in the NFL on the fake punt right then and there, up by 13, not really in a set, gave them a look that they were looking for to be able to run that and hit it and change the momentum of the game for the Rams. That was somewhat of an overall coaching mistake. But, he can't be perfect in everything. He can't be perfect in everything.
What did you see from the Rams in this particular game and throughout these playoffs that you think could potentially cause a problem for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots?
Well, I think you got to start off with Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald. If Sue and Donald do their job and Brockers and Fowler do their job of applying pressure and keeping Brady in the pocket, then you certainly are going to find yourself on the winning side of the football trophy, where you look at Wade Phillips and what he was able to do to them a couple of years ago in Denver when he was a defensive coordinator, when they went on to win the Super Bowl. You want to apply that Von Miller pressure. You want to have Brady rattled. You want to look at the New York Giants from several years ago. You want to look at the Atlanta Falcons from several years ago, the Baltimore Ravens from several years ago, teams that have given Tom Brady fits when they rush him and get at him and get him off his mark. You want to also take Talib and Peters and Joyner and whomever else in your secondary. Don't give them free access. You don't want the linebackers to let guys like Julian Edelman and Hogan just run off the line. Do. I'm open. Look at me, Tom. No, you want to chuck them at the line of scrimmage. The one thing with Bill Belichick coach teams, is if you treat Bill Belichick team the way that he treats your team, the things that he don't like to do, the problems that he presents against you, and you present them against Tom Brady, and you present them against the receivers, and you jamming those dudes. If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs game, they was letting Julian Edelman. I could have did that. Just go in motion and run free down the middle of the field. Nobody decided to reroute him. Nobody put their hands on him. Nobody did anything like that. You go back and you look at, or you think about it, Stephen, the rule was implemented because of the New England Patriots, the 10-yard chuck rule, forcing a guy, because the New England Patriots was pushing dudes 10 yards down the field. So they started putting the 5-yard chuck rule in, because what Willie McGinnis and Teddy Bruschi and those guys would do is drop and reroute the receivers. And so therefore people started saying, wait a minute, man, we can't, you can't do this. You can't do this. They're not going to let you get free access. So why would you allow Gronk to just run down the middle of the field?
Yeah, but I'm wondering, Keyshawn, how you stop all this. And here's what I mean by this. You got Gronk, who, by the way, did an exceptional job blocking against Kansas City. Plus, they put him in motion, put him out wide. 1 minute, he's on the line of scrimmage the next. You got Edelman. You know you have that. Chris Hogan, you can't ignore. But then you got this cat, James White, coming out of the backfield, catching receptions like a receiver. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all of those different things. And I'm like, how do you stop that? Particularly if the ingredients to people's success in the past was getting to Tom Brady, but now this guy's getting rid of the ball inside of 2 seconds.
Yeah, but that's why you make him pull the ball down. You disrupt the receivers at the line of scrimmage. I don't think that Talib is going to allow Hogan and Julian Edelman to just run down the middle of the field. I don't think that Marcus Peters is just going to allow them to run down the field. I mean, everybody else seems to always try to stop it, but they don't, because they don't disrupt them. They let them just run down the middle of the field. You can't do that. You say, well, Gronkowski, man, how you going to stop him? The Kansas City Chiefs played it perfect on the slant that he called late in the game. Mm-hmm. Eric Berry was lined up on him. Eric Berry pushed him to the safety. Guess what the safety did? The safety decided, I'm not going to hit him. I'm going to just let him catch the football, and I'm going to take a side step. Like, man, you in position, make a play.
Keyshawn Johnson breaking it down right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's talk about that Kansas City New England game. A lot of people, I'm one of these people. Listen, I know it's revisionist history. I get all of that, Keyshawn. But my attitude is simple. We see the rules that have been implemented sort of favoring a more offensive flow in the National Football League game. The better the offenses are, the better the scoring is, the more attractive it is to the mind's eye. People believe that that's contributed to the elevated level of popularity within the National Football League, sort of debunking what people were saying, that the sport was going in the wrong direction. Having said all of that, we got a league MVP to be in Patrick Mahomes, who drops 31 in the second half after being held scoreless in the first half, 24 points in the fourth quarter, and he is left standing there on the sidelines, unable to get on the field in overtime. Why won't folks support the notion of the NFL implementing a college football system where both teams get a shot at it in overtime?
I think you got a fair point there that both teams should probably get a shot at it. I don't know. What do you give them, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, do a whole quarter? I don't know. But I think both teams
I'm just talking about possession. That's it.
Oh, so you want to give them one possession.
No, what I'm saying is if Tom Brady scores, right, it shouldn't be New England scored a touchdown, so Kansas City doesn't even get a chance to get on the field. I say let Patrick Mahomes come out there and get a shot at it. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's fine. I think you can do it like that way, or you can do it like the NBA, play the whole quarter. You can do it that way too if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly players that would want to do that because, like you said, if you give an Aaron Rodgers in overtime, Drew Brees for the most part in overtime, Tom Brady, whoever all these quarterbacks, you giving it to them first, they probably going to go down and score considering that they was just marched down the field to tie it up in the first place on you. They probably going to stay hot, and if they win it, they probably going to score.
Right.
And the game's probably going to be over. So I think both teams should, if they decide to do a possession for each, yes, or a whole quarter or 10 minutes in a quarter or whatever, but both teams should be allowed to touch the football even though one scored.
Key, even though Damian Williams played a sensational game, particularly in the second half where he had 3 touchdowns, am I wrong in still believing that if Kareem Hunt were available to the Kansas City Chiefs, it might have been a different outcome? They might have been even more prolific and potent than they were for the entirety Sunday afternoon's game?
Well, not just Sunday afternoon's game. In the rest of the season without Kareem Hunt.
Correct.
They've struggled in terms of running the ball. Scoring touchdowns is cute. I could give you the ball at the 2-yard line. You can score a touchdown. Doesn't mean anything to me. What's your average per rush attempt? How many times did you carry the football? That's what's important. Those are the things that's important. If I give the guy the ball and he scores, okay, he scored. But can he consistently rip off 10 and 15? Can he consistently be a threat in the passing game? That's where you get your value from. If you go back to the Saints and the Rams game, the Rams got 3 yards of carry. But what they did is they never got away from the game plan of play action pass. They attempted to run the ball almost 30 times because Jared Goff needs to stick the ball in the belly, pull it back out to be effective. And that was what won the game for them. They didn't get a lot of yards rushing, but yet and still, they still use the play-action pass game. So I think if Kareem Hunt was there, there's no question in my mind he would have given the New England Patriots fits. No question.
Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. With that being said, the play action and how Jared Goff and Sean McVay were able to utilize that to their advantage, particularly when it really counted. How do you think that should work against New England in the Super Bowl 53?
Well, you know Bill Belichick, man. Bill Belichick got 2 weeks to prepare. You got a puppy of a quarterback and a puppy of a head coach going up against two grizzly veterans in Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And you know Bill Belichick's not going to let no young quarterback come in to Atlanta and just outshine him in his mastery of the defense and his scheme. He's just not going to do it. And on top of that, I believe that he's not going to put Tom Brady in a position of failure by dropping back and trying to throw the ball 50 times when he knows that that's the Achilles heel to Tom Brady. He wants to protect his quarterback. He wants to use him when he can. He wants to do different things in different sets on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively he wants to confuse Jared Goff. He wants to confuse Sean McVay. Sean McVay was 15 years old, man, when Jared Goff when Sean McVay was 15 years old when Tom Brady and Bill Belichick won their first Super Bowl. So, I mean, you know, I in this one, man, I got to go with the Wizard.
That's right.
I just got to go with the Wizard. Even though the hometown team, I want to see them win, but I also got to bet with my brain and not my heart.
I feel you on that. I need to do that more often my damn self. Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I'm looking at this and I think about Brady and I think about Belichick, and so much noise was made about Belichick and how he wanted to move on from Tom Brady in favor of a Jimmy Garoppolo. How does all of that look right now? I mean, we're talking about the genius that was Bill Belichick that was looking to move beyond Tom Brady. And I'm seeing Tom Brady, and regardless of the numbers, because like you said, you don't pay that much attention to the 2-yard runs or whatever the case may be. I don't pay attention to a game here or there where Tom Brady struggles, because I think when it really, really counts, he's going to be Tom Brady. What do you think about all of that right now?
It's 12-4. Takes you to the second seed. You're going to win. You're going to do all of the things that make you the second seed. You start the year off by the controversy of training camp and Gronk and this, that, and the other, and I don't like him. He really doesn't like me, and I wish. What happens is it becomes fascinating with superstars when you cover the number of them in the NBA as well as in the NFL.
Right.
The media sensationalizes things. And I tried to tell people this early on my show or when I'm on Countdown or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. Don't pay attention to that stuff, man. And I never want to discredit you journalists, but I don't get caught up in that sort of thing just because somebody said, well, he frowned at him walking in the locker room. So that means Brady wants out and Belichick doesn't want him.
Well, I agree with that, Keyshawn. But what if, like for me, I can only use myself as an example. What if, and this is hypothetical right here, but it's emblematic of what my career was like particularly when I was a beat reporter and what have you. What if a player the caliber of Keyshawn Johnson comes to you and directly states, bam, this is how I feel? That's not the media then. That's you.
But if I'm telling you directly, I don't like the coach. I don't like John Gruden. You're getting it from me.
Right.
Don't assume that I don't like John Gruden because I looked at him cross-eyed or I frowned at him or screamed at him on the sideline. Don't assume that I don't like him.
Right.
Don't take. But what happens too often in our sport is everybody's chasing for a story. And everybody wants to be the first to break it.
I agree.
And everybody wants to be the guy name goes across the scroll reported by. Mm-hmm. It was never any friction in Massachusetts to the point where they were going to part ways. It was never that. It was never that egregious.
Right.
It was never. Everybody has situations in their household, man. Everybody.
Yeah, totally.
And at the end of the day, they both going to Atlanta on the same plane.
And at the end of the day, they're giving you the results. So what the hell is there to talk about?
What is there to talk about?
I agree.
You don't know what you're talking about. This guy, man, look, if you get caught up in that, it's almost like the Carson Wentz thing that's coming up now. Oh, they don't like Carson Wentz. Players say he's
That's where I was going next. That's where I was going next.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you key up.
Well, my problem is that I had a problem with any the anonymous players or whatever. I'm like, how the hell did all of a sudden he become selfish? This guy was a league MVP candidate. Go ahead.
But he is selfish.
How?
He's selfish.
Carson Wentz?
How? Every quarterback that's a starter in the National Football League is selfish.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
They all selfish. You don't think Aaron Rodgers is selfish?
Oh.
Think about it. Aaron Rodgers screamed at some young receivers during preseason. You don't think that was selfish?
Yeah.
They all selfish, and that's okay. They all arrogant in their own way.
That's why they're successful.
Tell you, that's why they're successful. Tom Brady stand at the podium. He's giving you a press conference, a soundbite. He's arrogant doing it.
Well, let me ask you this question, Keyshawn. Let me ask you this question, Keyshawn. Is it all the same? What I mean by that is this. Whether it's Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, or Aaron Rodgers, or another quarterback being selfish. Now, they're saying the same thing about Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. Do you judge it all the same, put it all in the same bowl? Or is it different because you got a quarterback in one situation and a wide receiver in another?
I put it all in the same boat. Other people separate it because of the position that they play. Right. The quarterback can do what he want to do. He can have 5 lockers. The moment that a receiver say, I need 2 lockers, this guy here, he's a diva. This guy, who does he think he is? I don't separate the two, and I never have. You don't get preferential treatment because you play quarterback and I play receiver. Because when you're dribbling the ball at my feet, guess what? Mm-hmm. It's going to be a problem. When I'm dropping balls, guess what? It's going to be a problem. So we on equal ground. I don't put quarterbacks, at least when I play, and you play quarterback, I didn't put you ahead of me. Mm. We on equal footing. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? You ain't getting the first class seat if I'm flying on the same plane.
Here's the $64,000 question. With that being said, is there a situation that you believe it's warranted that somebody does receive preferential treatment compared to others as a professional athlete?
Everybody's different. Every coach is different, and you all going to get treated differently. I was treated differently by every single coach that I've ever had, different than other players. But that's because that's how that coach knew how to get the most out of me, because he understood the importance of that. He understood what was important to me, right or wrong. He understood that, you know what, he doesn't want a roommate on the road like everybody else. So he can have his own room. Because it makes him play better. It makes him play better. He doesn't like to come out early to warm up with everybody. It makes him play better. He's focused. He doesn't want. I remember John Fox told me when I was playing for Fox, he wanted me in the locker room with everybody doing the pregame prep talk, and I would go sit in the tunnel outside the locker room door on the concrete and stretch. And he told the guy to come get me one time, Stephen A. And I told him, I said, man, I've been doing this 10 years, man. I'm not getting ready to change right now. And he said, okay, well, he doesn't want to come in. And John Fox never said another word about it because he realized that was my routine. And he wasn't going to get in the way of it. So everybody's different, man. Antonio Brown is a different, unique talent. And if you want to deal with that talent and manage that talent at a certain level, then you do it. And if you don't, you allow somebody else to inherit that talent and see if they can manage it.
Do you think the Steelers should trade Antonio Brown?
I think the Steelers should do what is in the best interest of their team. Now, I sound like a press conference guy right there, right?
You beat me to it. You beat me to it, Keyshawn.
But no, I think they should do what is in the best interest of the team so everybody's happy. If it's keeping Antonio and they can work it out and everybody can be happy and they can go on and win games, then great. But if it's going to be a problem and his agent's going to be running in every other week talking about he wants out and Antonio won't show up in practice and it gets in the way of the team, then they should move him and see if somebody else wants to deal with what that is.
Very last question to you, Keyshawn, on a totally different subject, but I had to get your comment about this before I let you go. 8 NFL coaching openings, 5 black coaches fired. As of right now, 7 have been fulfilled. None of them minority candidates. And then even though Brian Flores, for the defensive coordinator for the Patriots, is expected to get the Miami Dolphins job. What were your thoughts about all of that?
Well, I think it's great for him to get the Miami Dolphins job. I just think that we, as black men, are not put in the positions of power to make decisions to allow our coaches to continue to rise. And what I mean by that is if you look at the pecking order and how these things go, most of the time in particular on the offensive side of the ball, even for the defensive side of the ball, it all starts at the ground level. See, a lot of people think it starts up top, but it starts at the ground level. And what I mean by that is they come in as quality control, and there's not a lot of black quality control guys in the National Football League. And that's the lowest level, right? In the moment that they move from quality control, Stephen A., they move to quarterback's coach. And then they move from quarterback coach maybe to offensive coordinator. But they never bring us in a quality control position on the offensive side of the ball so that we can move to the quarterback side, and then we can move to offensive coordinator, since that seems to be the prerequisite for getting jobs.
Right.
We coach the running backs, the wide receivers, and that's pretty much it. They don't allow us, outside of maybe Byron Leftwich, because Bruce Arians made that decision on his own, they don't allow us to coach those positions. And because it's a copycat league and everybody seems to think that they're going to get the next Sean McVay and all this sort of stuff, they let them rise up through the ranks, and then they allow them to get a title as offensive coordinator, whether or not they're calling the plays, but they give the illusion to the public and to the people that are out there, oh, they're calling the plays, they're kind of sort of doing it, but they're not really calling them. They're game planning for us, and they're presenting to the team. So when they don't ever get the opportunity to do that, you never know that they have the skill set to run and manage and do all of those sort of things. Me personally, if I was the general manager, president of a team, I don't care if you're an offensive coordinator or not. Can you do what I need done? Because you can go hire the right person to do those things.
Can you be a leader of men?
Can you be a leader of men? I heard somebody the other day on one of these shows talk about Coach Lynn versus Sean McVay. And this is why Coach Lynn is just a guy. He doesn't, he's a guy who played the game and he knows how to communicate to the players. But this is why they struggled on offense against the New England Patriots, is because they don't have a real offensive coordinator and a head coach. A lot of people wouldn't be lining up to hire Coach Lynn if he was available, but they would be lining up to hire Sean McVay. And I said to myself, that's a damn lie. Sean McVay was hired based on relationships that he had with the people that made the hire.
That's right.
So let's not get it twisted. But when they don't have their facts straight, they go out there and make these type of false statements.
Hey, I got something worse for you. Even when they do have the facts, Keyshawn, some folks don't tell it on purpose.
Well, that's true. I mean, you can look at Cliff Kingsbury. What has he ever done to get the head coaching job?
Please, don't get me started with that. I went off about that.
I'm just saying.
I've been going off about that for 2 weeks.
It's not a black or white thing.
Right.
It's more of a right or wrong thing.
Right.
And it's wrong how they do the business. It's just wrong how they do it. But, sometimes you gotta get hit real hard before you wake up and realize. That's why I take my hat off to Stephen Ross, because he's been doing it the wrong way for so long. Now, all of a sudden,
you're doing it right.
He decided he's getting ready to do it the right way.
Keyshawn, appreciate you as always, my man. I know you got New England winning the Super Bowl, even though you ain't rooting for them. You want Los Angeles to win, but you ain't betting against the master, Bill Belichick. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the knowledge as always, man. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right. The one and only Keyshawn Johnson. You can listen to that and so much more. Morning Drive co-host, 710 ESPN LA. Or is it ESPN LA 710? Either way, damn it. It's 710 in LA. All right? I like doing that. Might agitate Scott McCarthy a little bit, but that's my buddy who takes care of me all the time, and I love him. Thanks again to the great Keyshawn Johnson. Listen to absorb what that man just told you and how he broke down so many things. It's a lesson. School was in session over the last 25 minutes or so with my man Keyshawn Johnson right here, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Peloton is a game-changing indoor cycling bike that brings the energy of live studio classes right to your home anytime you want. Winter or summer, rain or shine. Whether it's a monthly challenge to meet your goals, a training program for your next race, or setting a new personal best, the Peloton bike will make you want to show up and keep climbing the live leaderboard year-round on average. Peloton members are riding their bikes more every year and crushing their personal records along the way. So learn more about the Peloton bike at onepeloton.com or visit your local showroom. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with more in a few. With his presence for that first significant, lengthy segment, worth every second, without question. Let's go to Nelson. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Nelson?
What's going on, Stephen A?
Talk to me. What's up?
Hey, I've been listening to you talk about this grievous no call, and several players talking about this grievous no call. But if you're going to be gangster, you got to be gangster all the way. New Orleans Saints in 2009 took out bounties on players.
Stop right there. Stop right there. First of all, don't call up on my radio show telling me I have to be gangster. I'm a radio host. I'm not trying to be a gangster. That's number one. Just trying to call it like I see it. Number two, that bounty gate and all that other stuff don't have a damn thing to do with what transpired Sunday. Playoffs are falling short of a Super Bowl appearance.
Okay, but there was missed calls on hits, on personal foul calls that could have went against Brett Favre.
So
my point is there was 8 plays that Brad Childress sent in.
Okay, but this is back when 2009. What year was that? What year was Bounty Gate?
There was missed calls.
No. I'm asking you a question. How many years ago was it?
10.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What's the difference between you 10 years and from now? Think about where your life was 10 years ago and where it is now.
Okay.
All right, isn't there a lot of differences?
Yes, it is.
So what I'm trying to say to you is that one has nothing to do with the other.
Why not? But what my point is, Stephen A., missed calls going to happen. That's what happened in the NFL. You're going to have plays where the referees are not perfect. They're going to miss calls. My point is, they missed calls in 2009. They missed calls in 2018.
Yes, they missed calls in 2000, but it wasn't that they missed a call. It was how flagrant it was. The ball wasn't even within 4 yards of the receiver when he got popped. What I'm saying is it's not about the Saints getting their comeuppance. The problem is we're looking at the officiating more so than we're looking at the outcome because it was so inept.
Getting hit in the head and no miss and no.
Oh, back in the day with the calls that weren't being called, the game was far more violent back then, and you actually could get away with things then that you can't get away with now. So that argument goes out the window. But I hear your point. The Saints fans deserve it. Stop whining. I got it. Thank you for the call. Brandon, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., do you think that if the Patriots and the Saints had played, do you think that would have been the biggest quarterback matchup in NFL history?
The Saints
and the Patriots. Do you think Tom Brady and Drew Brees have been the biggest?
I would tell you this. It might have been, but I don't. As much as people might have been interested in seeing them, I think the fact is the 2 40-year-olds without one of those young guns in the Super Bowl would have been somewhat of a turnoff. But I will say this. I think people would much rather have seen Breeze in the Super Bowl and especially Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl than Jared Goff. And I think that there's a lack of appreciation for how good Jared Goff has proven to be. Because if you had to list the quarterbacks you wanted to see in the Super Bowl, he would have been last on a list outside of L.A. Outside of L.A., he would have been last on the list.
You think that would have been a big box office?
Of course, it would have been box office. Thank you for the call. Rodney, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Thank you, Stephen A. Thank you for taking the call. I have a few things. First of all, why did Patrick Mahomes run more of that game? That's the first thing. Second thing is we always talk about ownership in this league where black people get ownership. How come they can't start their own league? Second of all, and third, you cannot lower your shoulder without lowering your head whenever you tackle. That's impossible. The science just doesn't.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm not even addressing the third point because that's irrelevant. We've been arguing about that with the NFL for ages now. That's just a moot point. Your first question about how he didn't run the football more, he was running for his life. The Patriots were applying pressure. Bill Belichick had adroitly gone about the business of containing him in the pocket in some sequences or steering him on a side of the field that he wanted him to go towards. So I think that was problematic for Patrick Mahomes in terms of actually running for first downs and things of that nature. And in terms of a black league, here's where you run into a problem. Advertisers and sponsors. You see, we could talk about black upliftment all we want to, and that's an incredibly pivotal thing. And certainly I'm not about to be one to shun that. You have 70% of the league who is black. I know for a fact there should be more executives who are black. I know for a fact that there should be at least one group led by a minority, one ownership group led by a minority, so you don't just have the same old good old white boys club running NFL teams. All of that is true. But at the end of the day, let's not go about the business of trying to ostracize and be exclusionary as opposed to being inclusionary when it comes to the demographics of a league. Because when it comes to the advertising dollars from sponsors and advertisers that you ultimately receive that helps buffer this sport and continues to allow it to grow, that is not about black and white. It's about green. And anytime you try to ostracize a group of folks, you're not going to get the money that you're capable of getting. The old Negro leagues knew that, even though one would argue that they prematurely went about the business of integrating. You have various other leagues who have done that. We see black participation. We see Hispanic participation. We see white participation. We shouldn't be discussing excluding anybody. What we should be discussing is being more inclusionary, so when the advertisers and sponsors patronize and support a product, it's more emblematic of what we want America and this great nation of ours to be, as opposed to dealing with what is. That would be my answer to your question. I got to get on out of here. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776 for upcoming holidays like Valentine's. 1-800-Flowers has the best bouquets and deals around, like a dozen assorted roses for $19.99. Or upgrade to 2 dozen assorted roses for $10 more. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Back with your calls and more to close out the show in a minute. This is Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Need game tickets? Find your seats at
Cast on your schedule, on demand. Brought to you by the new Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Hey! What's in your wallet? To the phones we go. We got to get on out of here. Gerard, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Gerard, go.
Man, you think it's Tom Brady's last run?
Nope. I think Tom Brady will be back. He's got the supermodel wife. He's wealthy. He looks great. He feels great. And he's got Bill Belichick. He keeps on winning with Josh McDaniels. The combination of the two, I think that Tom Brady is really going to try to play about 3 or 4 more years.
I hope he do, sir. I hope he really do.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call. Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, if he keeps looking the way that he's looking, as much of a pain in the neck to see him keep winning, the bottom line is, hey, you know what? To beat a man, you got to beat the man. And I'd rather somebody beat Tom Brady than win because he retired. I'll talk to y'all in 22 hours. Until then, peace and love, everybody. Stephen A. signing off.